Hello, I'm Dennis with Wildwood TV Lift Furniture. Today we're going to do a setup video for our TV lift bed with the traditional rails and a conventional bed frame. So we'll go ahead and get started. You can see that I've got the head or the footboard in here and the headboard kind of positioned apart from each other, and then there's a set of rails. Also from the installation hardware, I found a bag that has four 5/8 inch pan head screws, and we'll use those. I'll show you those in a minute, but those will be just for attaching the rails or securing the rails to the headboard and footboard. So I've got my helper here, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take one of these rails, and you'll notice that the rail has a plate on it that has some collars. Essentially what I'm going to do is just make sure that the rail is up, so the finished side is up, and then I'm just going to take these collared parts off of this plate and slip it into these elliptical holes on the plate from the footboard. And you probably have to work that in just a little bit to get it to slip down into the bottom of these ellipticals. And now that I've got this side in, my helper will slip the other side in. Okay, now we've got that rail in, and sometimes you kind of have to wiggle the footboard or the headboard around a little bit to get that to seat all the way down in. It's also okay to, as you kind of start to get it to, with a soft-soled shoe, you can kind of click that down into place, but you want that to seat down in. And like I said, you might have to kind of manipulate the headboard or the footboard a little bit to kind of get it to go in. Now on the second one, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to line these up, and my helper will grab that top side. We'll get I'm going to get this one in, and we're going to have to manipulate that just a little bit to get that to seat. I'm just going to kind of wiggle this footboard just to make sure that those are seating down in there. Now, just kind of knock that down. Then I'll go do the same thing on the headboard. And that one has seated down in. All right, now that they're seated all the way in, now we're going to use some screws to secure them. Okay, now using some of the 5/8 inch screws that I mentioned from the hardware kit, they kind of have a pan head on them, I'm going to use that hole that has a hole that's now lined up between the two plates, and this will just secure the rail in place. I'm just going to go ahead and just screw that right in. And I'll go to all four corners and do the same thing. And once that's in and that's in place, it's secure. Okay, now I've stepped into the middle of these captain bed, and I'm just going to lift this TV lift lid open, and you'll find that there's a cord from a power strip, and I'm just going to go ahead and slip that down into that hole that's at the bottom of this cabinet. And I'll feed that through, and then I'm going to pull that out. And then I'll plug that into my outlet. Now, if your outlet's right here at the head of the bed, this extension will probably work. You may need an extension cord to get to a plug that's further away. So now we've got power to the headboard, or to the footboard, and now we'll continue on. Okay, now we're going to start working on the mechanism. So from that mechanism box, I've found the mechanism itself. There's a control box here. There's a power box, and then the cord that plugs into this power box. And then the hardware that I had discussed earlier in this video was this hardware for attaching some of these parts. And so what I'm going to find here is 8 of these 5/8 inch machine screws that are tapered. And then there is an 1 1/8 wood screw, and then a 5/8 inch wood screw. And that all comes from one bag. Okay, now I've stepped back into the middle of this captain's bed, and right down in here you'll see there's a panel that's been attached to the end of the footboard. And with that same 4mm Allen wrench, I'm just going to release the 2 small furniture connectors that are going to hold this panel in place. This is what we're going to connect the mechanism to. And now I'm just going to go ahead and lift that right out of the footboard. Okay, now we're going to install the standard mechanism onto this mechanism board, which will go into the footboard. So I've got the standard mechanism now, and this one measures about 24 inches. And you'll notice that there's a series of holes that you could attach this to. Down here, what I'm going to do for this particular mounting, I'm going to mount it in the second hole up from the bottom. So I'm just going to slide this mechanism over, and you'll notice that there are holes that line up. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount that in the second hole from the bottom. Typically that's where you would mount this mechanism. That allows the mechanism to come up high enough to clear the footboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these in. Of course, you can use a regular screwdriver here. You don't need a power driver. And now from the mechanism box, you will find a control box, which is this square control box with several inputs, and then a power supply, and then a bracket that holds the power supply, and then I found the power cord. And you'll notice that there's some holes over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this bracket right here. I'm going to get this power supply over here as close to the edge as I can. That gives good clearance for the mechanism. And then there's some half-inch wood screws that will just go into those pre-drilled holes, or those holes that are there. I'll just screw that down in. And now the control box, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the power, or the line that comes out, the short line that comes out of this power supply, and I'm going to plug it into the hole here on the side. And then I'm going to use those holes, those pre-drilled or pre-marked holes, and I'll thread that down into this mounting board as well on both sides. And now I'm going to take this cord that comes off the bottom of the mechanism, and I'm going to plug it into where it says motor HAL here on the bottom of this control box. And then you'll notice too there's a clip. That clip is going to be up, and that will just clip right in to this control box. And then the other end of the power supply that actually has the outlet for your home will be plugged in there. Okay, now the last step will be to hooking this up will be there's a wire that comes off the rocker switch on the footboard, and it too has a clip, and that's going to go right into the side, the last spot you can place a cord, and the clip is toward me or to the outside. I'm just going to clip that into place. Okay, now you may need some help with this. It can be a little bit heavy, but now I'm just going to take this mounting board with the mechanism and all of the electronics on there, and I'm going to lift that up and slide it down into, there's some brackets down there at the bottom, and it will just center that for you, and it'll sit right down centered. Now I'm going to take these short furniture connectors that we had removed while taking this mounting board off. Just put that right back into place using this 4mm Allen wrench, and I'll just tighten that down in place. Okay, the last thing that I've done is to plug in the mechanism, the outlet that goes into an outlet in the home, into the power supply or the power strip in this footboard. Now there's a rocker switch right here on the side of the footboard, and I'm just going to run that mechanism all the way up. Okay, from the mechanism box now I found this lid opener, holes, and it's kind of got a round or a bent end on it. Okay, now in the mechanism right here at the top there is a 4mm machine screw that's threaded in, and I'll go ahead and remove that. And I'm going to put this lid opener into this slot at the top. So now I've just got this, and there's many holes. I'm going to, because of where I mounted the mechanism onto that board, I know that the maximum is 5 holes up. So I'm going to mount that at the 5th hole up. So now I've got that right there in that 5th hole. And now I'm just going to go ahead and thread that short little machine screw back into position to hold that. That will be as high as that lid opener can be positioned and still clear when the mechanism is down. Okay, most all late model TVs, especially those that are from the major manufacturers, they have a mounting pattern on the back of the TV that is, they're 200 millimeters apart in all directions. Which is about almost 8 inches, just a little less than 8 inches. And as long as yours has this pattern, it will mount right to that mechanism. If it doesn't have that pattern, if it's an odd pattern, then there are some mounting bars that give you some other options for mounting to the TV and then to the lift mechanism. Also from the mounting, also from the hardware or from the mechanism box, you're going to find some hardware that has spacers and some different length and different diameter machine screws for the backs of TVs. But also most of the smaller TVs, up to 40, this was a 43-inch TV, they have mounting hardware right from the factory, and I'm just going to use those. So, but if you need to use some other hardware, there is hardware that's available that came with the lift mechanism. So I'm just going to thread these right out and mount this TV right to that mechanism without having to use any of the other crossbars. Okay, now I've got my helper with the TV, and basically the TV cannot come higher than this lid opener. And so all I'm going to do is look at these openings here, or where the screw goes, and I'm going to kind of line that up with the highest hole that will allow it to be below this lift arm. Okay, so this is going to end up being in the 3rd hole down. So now once we know that that's going to be in the 3rd hole down, I'm going to prepare the hardware to install. Okay, now we've lined up that 3rd hole, and I'm putting in the top one, and again it's slightly below that opener. And I'll just go ahead and put all 4 of those screws into the openings. Okay, I've got it all installed. I'm going to go here to the rocker switch. There's also a little remote control that comes in the hardware box that you can use. We'll just go ahead and lower this. And because it's lower than that lifting arm there, I'm sure everything will clear, but we'll just go ahead and put that all the way down. If you need like a cable wire or a long USB, you can run it in this opening and then up into the bottom of this the footboard and hook everything up, and you should be ready to go. Okay, this particular bed with the rails takes a traditional frame, and frames can vary. Some of them are just for the mattress, some of them for a box springs and mattress. This is a queen size, so this is a king size. So this is a king size frame. So now we're just going to get this king size frame carefully set down into the middle here that will hold the mattress. This particular frame just holds a mattress. Most frames will hold mattress and box spring. And I'll grab that side and we'll just set this frame up inside. This leaves the frame and the mattress separate from the rest of the furniture so that the furniture can be solid, and whatever movement is on the mattress won't affect the TV when the TV's up. Okay, we've completed the setup for this TV lift bed, and we've got the mattress in place. The rails are secure, and we hope this video has helped with with the assembly of this TV lift bed. And we appreciate your business here at Wildwood TV Lift Furniture.